This is TWiT.
Did you get up at 5:30 this morning? I guess it wasn't 5:30 for you, Jeff, but it was for me.
I watched it.
You did?
I first suggested, I stupidly sent an email to Leo and Jason saying, "Oh, you're going to cover the Google search event?" And then I saw what time it was, and I said, "No, Leo would be very grumpy."
So we are in a space race, baby. This is like going to the moon. That's exciting. Microsoft, Microsoft's partner, OpenAI, and I can't even say they started it. You know, really started it. OpenAI put out DALL-E 2, their image generation engine, and then the folks at Stable Diffusion Runway said, "Hold my beer," and came out with Stable Diffusion, which was open source. You could run it on your own computer, generated amazing images. Along comes Midjourney and others. Suddenly there's just a huge barking explosion.
And Google barked a lot and said...
a huge explosion in image-generated AI. Then OpenAI, same people who did DALL-E 2, came up, released ChatGPT, and that blew people's minds. And then Microsoft said, yeah, we did that. Microsoft, one of many companies, including Elon Musk, who put in money. Microsoft put in $1 billion to get OpenAI started and announced last week they're going to put another $10 billion in, and they're going to start including ChatGPT in their office. They had an event yesterday in which they announced they're going to put ChatGPT in their Bing search engine, which was an all-hands alert for Google, right? This is the one threat. This is the one thing that could topple Google's search, hegemony.
Some say.
Well, Google's certainly worried about it. Microsoft has invited every influencer in. There's Joanna Stern from the Wall Street Journal. Somebody just sent me a video from iJustine, who just by coincidence, I guess, was at the Microsoft campus. When Microsoft, just by chance.
I thought that was just around the corner from South LA.
Yeah, happened to be up there. And, she posted this on YouTube. I got to say, I don't see anywhere sponsored content or anything like that.
I am at Microsoft right now, and they just announced something so incredible that's basically going to change the way that we search the internet.
So this is an ad, not billed as an ad, and I don't know if she got paid or not. I don't know. I don't know. It's a little suspicious. Joanna Stern for the at least Joanna was covering it for the Wall Street Journal, right? But did a similarly, this is going to change everything interview with Satya Nadella.
The thing with AI is going to completely change what people can expect from search. We're grounded in the fact that,
So there's a lot of hype around this.
Yeah.
Mr. Laporte, why are people so hyped up about AI in search? Because my little simpleton thought of me doing a quote unquote Google search is I'm typing into a text field of something that I'm looking for, and it's going to return a list of stuff that's probably going to be what I'm looking for within the first 3 or 4 entries, usually, right? What more do I need from that? Why do I need AI to step in and make this a better experience? Why should I get hyped up about this stuff?
Stacey, Jeff, you want to answer, or should I?
Is that a punt, or is that a...
No, I'm glad to do it, but I don't want to dominate. Go ahead.
Stacey, you do it.
I am not a punter.
I have answers to
I am not a punter.
No, because my dog is making... Hold on. I'm so
go
sorry.
handle the dog. That's fine.
Wait a sec.
I just
tell
see
you why it makes
these
a
headlines and stuff, and it seems really, really sensational, but I'm like, it's search. What does the common person that's just looking for some information, will they get excited about this, or why will they get excited about it?
Well, let me ask.
They will never know.
Let me ask my Neeva, the chat engine, the search engine that I use.
Right, the private one.
No, it's not private. You just pay $5 a month for it. Yeah, I guess if you have to pay for it. Although I think there's a free tier. But let me ask you, why use AI in search? Maybe it will have an opinion. They've been doing before anybody else. Oh, we weren't able to generate an AI summary for you because there are not enough pages or facts to answer it. By the way, that is no. You know what?
That's doing what it's supposed to do.
Honest.
It's looking. Yeah,
I like it. Let me search for something. Let's see. Is Clemson all that in college football. This is where you need a good football league.
This is one.
Weren't able to generate a summary because there aren't enough pages or facts.
Football.
Okay, so yours is not great, but the idea is you can have natural.
Who's the best in
Okay.
college football? Let me just ask you something you can answer. Nothing.
Gotta say Georgia.
Never
I'll
mind.
give you rankings.
Never mind.
Rankings.
Okay, this is not a good answer, obviously. I was hoping the chat GPT could answer it for itself. But I think here's the real advantage of it. And the reason by the way, I am now all in on Neeva. I don't use Google anymore. Yes, you have to pay for it, but that means there's no ads. And I think the results are just as good as Google. And I like the AI because here's why. Often now when you go to Google or anywhere, you get a knowledge graph that shows you a piece of text that kind of answers your question. Google's always said people don't do search because they want to click a link to go to a website. They do search because they want the answer to a question. So why don't we just give them the answer and then we can put the Wall Street Journal out of business? And this is kind of the idea is Chat GPT on Bing or whatever Neeva's using. I don't think they're using Chat GPT, but it's very similar. A conversational text chat engine is one thing it's really good at is synthesizing information from a variety of sources. So if what you say is what I really want is the answer, not a link, you're going to get links. But what I want is the answer. Something that can go and look at 3 or 4 articles, synthesize it, and create a short synopsis for you may well be exactly what you're looking for. And
Okay, so the idea of
ChatGPT is
checking
very good
multiple
at.
sources. So the idea of checking multiple sources and trying to bring the summation
Giving
to
you
that
an
way.
answer. No, it's basically like if you asked me to explain something to you, like why does this matter? And then I went to 4 different or 3 different or however many places I could find that talk about this topic. And I come back and I say, Ant, this is important because it allows you to get multiple sources into one succinct answer, which is what most people want.
Here, let me show you a good example. I wanted to know what is a cyclotron. So I said, how does a cyclotron work? And the AI generated, coming from Wikipedia, NASA, Byjuice.com, and Vedantu.com, and it footnotes those, a description of what a cyclotron does, how it works, what you get out of it. And this is the kind of thing, if you asked a kid in 8th grade to write a paper, that's the paper, right?
Yep.
But if you're looking
It's
for
got
the
all
answer,
the citing there.
yeah, and it's cited, and you can now still go to the links, right? And there's YouTube videos and all that stuff. But I like the idea that there often a quick answer, synopsizing a number of sources is really what you want from a search, and that's what I think
Which
these
has
guys are trying to
media
do.
companies just
It's like basically like
because
giving you Wikipedia.
It's snippets on steroids because
Yeah.
you're not driving any traffic to the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or anything else.
No.
You're just taking it.
And if you go to Bing.com right now, the promo box under the Ask Me Anything will give you their example. I need to throw a dinner party for 6 people who are vegetarian. Can you suggest a 3-course menu with a chocolate dessert?
Nobody's going to type that in, by the way. That's ridiculous.
No, that's right. That's normal.
so it
People
comes
aren't
back.
searching for that.
Okay, but here's what we talked about. We actually talked about this on our show. There's a company called Josh.ai that does its own custom voice engine for smart home use cases. Imagine asking your smart home or your digital assistant, hey, give me a 3-course meal for vegetarians, and then send it to my phone or whatever. But it could actually do that. So what
Voice
we're doing
makes more
is
sense.
yeah. Well, it makes more sense to be able to ask it via voice. I guess it
Right,
could tell
right.
you, but then you also want it to send it to some sort of
useful.
display
Good
or
point.
keeper. I would like for that particular thing. And I would think most of them, because you're going to get a more exhaustive answer, I would say.
Leo, I have a theory, having watched the Google thing, which we're not on it yet, there's no Leo.
We'll talk to you, Jeff.
Stacey, I'll bet you know. What besides search is Amazon? By the way, I just broke down the 4th wall. I wasn't supposed to tell you that. I wasn't supposed to reveal that we can see each other now. So I blew it. I'm not a good podcaster,
It's all good.
but I'm an honest man. I tell you when Leo has to go pee, and you all know it. And you can trust me for that. You can trust me more than ChatGPT. All right, Stacey, that wasn't enough vamping. besides the thing we saw in here's your 3-course dinner next to a bunch of listings, which I actually find more useful because then I have more choice. It's choosing for me. I don't need it to choose for me in this case. I think it's kind of a dumb example. They also showed, and there's a clip up on the rundown, that when you're reading and the example they gave was you're reading somebody's financial results and it's a 20-page annual report, and you've got a little chat GPT button on the browser, the Excite browser, and you say, summarize there, this document. And so it does something to your browsing as you go. So what I'm curious for, since Leo actually read more about it than you, or you have read more about it, or Ant has read more about it than I have, is what besides the fancy new Wikipedia box does ChatGPT actually give Microsoft? Because I think that a lot of this hype that we're seeing in the media coverage is, oh my God, Google's doomed. Well, what I've seen so far are neat gimmicks.
Yeah, no,
but I don't think are fundamentally changing.
Google does think it's a problem. I mean, they're worried about it. That's why
I'm going to get to that, and I agree.
Yeah,
but it's also a media problem, a stock problem.
You want to know what Microsoft gets out of it? Just try to sign up for this. And it will tell you, okay, well, you got to make Edge your browser, your default browser on all the platforms.
Hello, Justice Department.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst. It's like a blatant. First of all, Edge is a terrible browser because it has a bunch of additional stuff like coupons in it that it's just larded with ways for Microsoft to make money and spy on you. So,
you know, Leo, I found when I went wandering down the Microsoft page, because I never use Bing, I went wandering down the page where they have all the headlines. Well, that's interesting. They clearly use third-party data because they had things that I'd bought from IKEA that I never used a Microsoft product.
Yeah.
No way for them to know it.
Yeah.
Google would know it because I searched for it. Microsoft wouldn't. And then second is you click on a news story, it goes to a Microsoft URL.
Yeah.
It doesn't go to...
No. Apple does the same thing. And in Apple News, you can't share an article.
I hate Apple News.
Right.
Yeah.
Terrible. You have to share it through Apple News.
If Google did this stuff, they would get drawn and quartered.
Yeah, admittedly, but all three companies are trying to disintermediate the original sources of the information. And this is the same complaint people have about Stable Diffusion, stealing from artists, because all of the Stable Diffusion stuff is rehashed existing art that it's scraped from the internet. They have the same complaints about ChatGPT. It's scraping from every possible text source. I mean, I think if you're putting stuff on the internet, you're kind of saying, okay, it's out there, but you're not saying it's public domain, and they're treating it like it's public domain.
That's the difference.
Or it's a whole different world. That copyright was made for a very different era.
Yeah, and we all know that one of the reasons there's a limit on copyright term is because all creation stands on the shoulders of the people who went before. Walt Disney didn't invent Snow White. The Brothers Grimm did. Of course, he tried to pull the ladder up after him. As soon as he did it, he said, well, I copyrighted this. But the whole premise is eventually it goes into the public domain. This is what Larry Lessig was really pushing with Creative Commons, and becomes part of the next generation of generative creation. Nobody creates in a vacuum. Maybe we're going to loosen copyright and say, well, you know, in order to promote this idea of artificial intelligence, we're going to allow people to it is transformative.
Well, let's not forget, you cannot copyright information. You can only copyright the treatment of that information. And so it basically, so when Business Insider rewrites the Wall Street Journal, they can get away with that. They can do that because they are rewriting it. They are taking the base information. Can I give you my theory about Google versus Microsoft on this, having watched the thing?
Well, let's talk. Yes, but wait. Let's talk about.
That's why I'm asking.
But we haven't done
democracy.
We got to do the second part of the story, which is what Google announced, and then we could say what your theory is about it.
Well, is there anything else from Microsoft that you found game-changing, interesting, fascinating?
Not yet.
I couldn't have seen it,
but it's not out yet. Understand? My only experience is with Neeva. I think it is game-changing. I do agree it's bad for all the people who created the original information because you're not going to click links. This is worse than snippets. This is the answer delivered to you. It is
what
what
if there's a potential rev share there?
Well, maybe there's a way around it. That's maybe what's what Rupert
Well, but
Murdoch
hold
wanted.
on. We can't trust everything that this gives us. And I think that's we need to talk about that because like a financial statement, if you're going to pull and cull from that, okay. And it's also old. It's 2021. So when we look at
that's all old. What you just said, that's the way the ChatGPT that came out as the test worked. That is not how it's going to work for Bing.
Okay.
So
Tell me more.
ChatGPT as designed was never designed to be factual.
Okay.
They even said that up front. He said, look, it's going to be wrong. It's not designed to be factual. That's what Stephen Wolfram said when he wrote his article, is we should work with these guys because Wolfram Alpha is mathematically factual. That's our primary purpose, but it's not with ChatGPT. Maybe if we work together, they would be better. But that's a setting. Similarly, the fact that they froze it at whatever it was, the spring 2021, that's a setting. That's mostly about cost. They could do what Google does. They could be continuously spidering information and adding it to the database. It's just a matter of cost. I don't know, and they haven't said what the ChatGPT used for Bing or what Google's with their Bard is going to do. But my guess is it has to be. If it's a search result, it's got to be up to the minute.
Got to be current.
You can't search for something and say, well, this is only good through April 2021. That's useless.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should judge it by what ChatGPT
But Stacey's still right. Stacey's still right about the primary point here, which is, again, everybody forgets the primary job is to predict the next word, not to understand, not to know what a fact is, not to deliver facts. It almost needs a separate process to fact check itself because all it's doing is predicting words.
That's how,
now,
well,
in
again,
some cases,
that's how it was set up. That's what OpenAI's demo was set up. That's not what this, by the way, is going to use ChatGPT 4, right? The next one.
Right.
Or is it 3? I can't. Anyway, I've lost track of the numbers.
4 is the
next
next
4.
one. 4 is the next one.
There's nothing to say that ChatGPT 4 cannot be biased towards factualism. Now,
yes,
we should point out that Google, in its demonstration, saying, "Yeah, we got that,"
oops,
made a mistake. Like the first thing
so Google
did.
announced Bard. We should tell people what they did.
So we had talked about Apprentice Bard last week as the thing Google was. Every company, including Facebook, has said, "Oh no, we got that." It's really interesting what happened, which is, I think, essentially ChatGPT, everybody else was doing this in secret, including, by the way, I might add, China. But ChatGPT and OpenAI decided, let's just release to the public, see what happens. And I think they had a good point, which was we can't go to the next stage unless we get a lot more input from people. Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. ACI Learning proudly announces that IT Pro, formerly IT Pro TV, joins its audit, cyber, and IT learning solutions. Join a community of learners who access more than 6,800 hours of IT courses to better their organizations. Visit acilearning.com and give your IT team superpowers with ACI training.